The history of methods and approaches in English language teaching. The need of finding an efficient way of communicating in English brought as consequence the development of approaches that allow a correct acquisition of the language. The grammar translation method. The grammar translation method was derived from the classical or traditional method of teaching Greek and Latin. This method embraces a variety of approaches, but basically L2 study is seen as a cognitive exercise, focused on grammar and translation in order for learners to be able to read and appreciate written texts. Grammar translation method was dominant in English language teaching from around 1840 to 1940. One of his most remarkable practitioners was Karl Ploetz. The direct method. As a reaction towards the grammar translation method, appeared the direct method in 1900, which was originated in Germany and France. This method forbids the use of the native language in the classroom, only permitting the use of the target language. It is based on a natural approach to language learning. Speaking skills were emphasized and grammar was taught inductively. The audiolingual method. After a great popularity in the beginning of the 19th century, the direct method began to lose its appeal because of the constraints of budget, classroom size, time, and teacher background. It then paved the way to the audiolingual method, which emerged from the Second World War since soldiers needed to learn languages fast. Based on behavioral psychology, the audiolingual method claimed that a language could be learned by a system of reinforcement. Correct usage receives positive feedback, while incorrect usage receives negative feedback. Bloomfield and Skinner were its promoters. The Silent Way. The Silent Way was developed by Caleb Gatengo in 1963. One of the characteristics of his method is the use of cues in rows, which are used for teaching simple commands and pronunciation to represent abstract objects. The most important objective of this method is to get learners to work independently on the acquisition of the target language. Suggestopedia. With the intention of enhancing learning utilizing the power of suggestion and unlearning bad habits that restrict spontaneous learning, appeared the Suggestopedia method in 1970. It was developed by the Bulgarian psychotherapist Georgi Lozanov. It gives emphasis on motivating and makes students feel relaxed, whether the teacher is a counselor or facilitator. The Community Language Learning Approach. The community language learning was created by Charles Curran and it became very popular in the 70s. In this method, students collaborate to develop the aspects of the language that they want to learn. The teacher is considered a knower or a counselor who assesses the learning and understanding his or her own problems, and the learner is considered a student or client, who responds in an open but considerate way. Total Physical Response. Total Physical Response appeared in the 1970s, and it was developed by Dr. James Asher. The method states that when learning a second language, this one is internalized via a process of code breaking similar to the native language acquisition, which allows for a sustained period of listening and developing comprehension before producing the language. The Communicative Approach. The communicative approach appeared as a reaction to the audiolingual method in the 1980s. It emphasizes interactions as both the way to learn a language and as the goal of learning a language. Its main purpose is that learners get involved in real communication supported by the natural strategies for communication. The Task-Based Learning Approach. The Task-Based Learning Approach appeared in 1987. Its emphasis is placed on the successful completion of tasks rather than accuracy on language forms. This approach concentrates on authentic language uses and on asking students to do meaningful tasks in the classroom using the target language. The Cognitive Approach. The cognitive approach, where the teacher assesses prior knowledge, promotes higher order skills and strategies learning. It also models and scaffolds knowledge. Moreover, the students take active role in learning using graphic organizers and become aware of metacognitive skills, among others. Motivation is important. The humanistic approach. The humanistic approach in English language teaching is an attempt to respond to the student's need of learning a second language. Its basic principle is in shifting the focus in education from teaching to learning, so that the teacher is no longer the focal point in class but someone who facilitates the process of education.